Hello, everyone. I will make a video on how to do the podcast project, your project two. Most of you have started this already, but I want to give you full instructions. So the podcast is basically it's like a research paper, but instead of writing it, or not only are you writing it, but you're recording it and you're using your voice to talk about it. In the podcast, you have to select a topic or a theme, which is going to focus on something musical. So you could talk about a band or an artist or maybe a genre of music, and you want to talk about how maybe how the genre evolved over the last few years. Maybe you want to talk about how maybe if you talk about, for example, country music, you can talk about like kind of classical country music in a sense, something like Johnny Cash or from the 50s, 60s. And then you can talk about like the 90s and early 2000s country music, and then kind of what country music is like now. You can focus on one artist and how they developed their career over 20 years. Maybe their music changed. If you want to talk about a movie and how sometimes the songs in the movie tell a story. If you want to talk about a musical, I mean, it's kind of like an endless, there's just so much out there. You just have to find something that you like and talk about something that you like. You will need 3 songs for the podcast, but you can use up to 5 pieces of music because one is going to be an introduction and one is going to be the conclusion. But you will talk mainly about 3 songs, and you're not going to use the entire song. You will select about 30 seconds of each to use as a sample throughout the podcast. And you're going to paste the links into the outline. So the first thing that you want to do is you can scroll down. You can see that I posted the podcast outline. It is just a blank page like this. On the left side, it tells you what you're going to put where. So you're going to put, for example, the title, the podcast theme is going to be here. For example, you talk about musicals, whatever you want to really talk about. You're going to put the introduction clip here. The first sound clip that you're going to talk about is here. Then the second one, then the third one, basically right in the, where it says YouTube link. And then the last one is just going to be a conclusion or an outro music clip. You have an intro and an outro right over here. Intro and outro. So the main 3 ones are going to be the ones that you talk about. In the middle over here, you're going to write. Going to physically type what you're going to say. So you can start with "Welcome to my favorite things podcast" with your name, with Mr. Reshetov. Today I will be talking about rock bands. So you have a little introduction, a couple sentences to say hello, and a couple sentences to introduce your theme. What is your theme? Why are you here? What are we listening to? You want to kind of capture the interest of the listener. Then you're going to talk about clip number 2. So first you do the introduction, and then you talk. You say what your podcast is about, and then you introduce the following clip, the next clip that you're going to play. I made a complete podcast outline is provided with the project, so you can see that my theme is rock music subgenres with electronic elements. So I have an intro from this band, 65 Days of Static. I gave you a little introduction. I gave you a little background on the theme. I kind of start over here. I'll be talking about different but related genres of rock music. Give you a little background on what rock bands are and what the term alternative rock means. And then over here is my paragraph about clip number 2. So this is me talking about what this next YouTube link, right? What the next song is going to be. And I gave you the name of the band, I gave you the name of the song, and I gave you the YouTube link. And the first thing you want to do is you want to just collect all of the YouTube clips, and you want to paste them into this. So that's step 1. Once you have the YouTube link, you're going to download the videos, and you're going to convert them into an audio clip so that you can import them for your project. So first thing you need to do is install AdBlock Plus. Because you are downloading stuff from the internet, because you are using websites, you want to make sure that your AdBlock is installed, which blocks ads and pop-ups and a whole other things. I already have AdBlock installed, but you would just click the AdBlock Plus for Chrome or for another browser. If you're using another browser, and you just click Add to Chrome, it installs itself. And that's it. The easiest way that I found is to use the YouTube converter, which is the ytmp3.cc. You click on it, and it just comes up like this. So I will copy the YouTube clip, Control copy or Control C to copy, or you can also right click and copy. You can see it gives you shortcuts, Control C, and you're going to either paste it or Control V using the keyboard. MP3 is the audio, that's the default setting. MP4 is a video. We don't want video, just make sure MP3 is selected, and then you click convert. It's going to give you the name of the song to make sure that it's the right one. It'll take a few seconds, and then it'll give you 3 options. Now this part is important, so I will take time to explain. Okay, so you have a couple options. You have download, Dropbox, or convert next. You also have start now and play now. You can see that there is a word that says advertising. So even though we did just install AdBlock, you still get some advertising. Do not click on start now or play now. Do not click on that. You will click the download button in blue, and you'll see that it starts to download, and this will go into your downloads folder. The other option, well, once this is done, is you're going to click convert next. Do not click Dropbox. If you want, you can kind of link your Dropbox, but we're not doing that. You're just going to physically download the audio, and then you click convert next. And then you select the next song. Highlight the link, Control C, go in here, Control V, convert. You can convert while this is still downloading. And then when this is done, again, you will just click download. I've already downloaded all of this, so I don't really need to do this, but that's how you do the downloads. Once you get all 5 of the examples, you're going to import them into BandLab. So I have the library here. This is my kind of regular, right? The feed is the default. If you go to library, you have your previous projects. I'm starting a new project, so I'm going to click create. And now it says new track. So you can either import audio, or if you click out of it, you can just click on the blank page, and you will see that I have my 5 individual audio clips, or the 5 songs. Now there's a couple things you can do. You can either click the first one, hold down Shift on the keyboard, and then click the last one. You'll see it selects all of them. If your audio is kind of spread out, you can hold down Control and select multiple, right? So you can do that individually. If you hold down Shift, it will select all of them in between. The other option is you can do it one by one, but that does take a few extra steps. So we're going to just select all 5 of my audio clips, click open, and you'll see that it loads everything very nicely into BandLab. If I zoom out all the way, you can see that one of the tracks is exceptionally long, but that's why we're going to trim it. So that's the next step. We're going to clip or trim the appropriate section of the song that you want to play. It's about 30 seconds. So this podcast should be a total of 5 to 6 minutes. Obviously, each song, the shortest song is, you can see there's a counter here, so it's about 2.5 minutes. This one's 2:46. This one's 3:46. It's 4 minutes, and the last one's going on 7 minutes. So we're not going to play the entire song, all the way through. So we're going to select each song, You can kind of, if you want, you can double click. And there's a couple ways to do this, so I will show you how you will do this. These are the individual tracks on the left side. So if you do a volume control, it's going to control the entire, control everything that's on that track. Right now, there's only one thing on this track, but we're going to combine all of this. We're going to remove most of it. We're going to select about 30 seconds, and we will put everything onto one track. So don't do any adjustments here, but I do want to kind of put them in order. So my first track, my opening track, my introduction is this one. I'm just going to click and drag, put it at the top. Then my first is that, then this. I actually put them in kind of chronological order of how they were released. So my intro, let's say I want to start, I can either start in the beginning or really wherever. And what's cool about the, any of these audio softwares is that you can kind of see what's happening. So you can see in the beginning it's relatively quiet, and then there's a kind of, there's a big section that's very loud going all the way through. Then there's a little breakdown, and then it gets loud again. So I'm going to focus right on this, and I'm going to put the cursor right on this spot. Now I'm going to click this button right here where it says Slice at Playhead. It now separates the one clip, what used to be the one clip, into two individual clips. And I'm going to delete the previous one. Now if I zoom out, you can see that it deleted all of this previous audio. So that's one way to do it. It's especially helpful when you are zooming in and you can't see the ends of the audio clip. Again, if you're zoomed in like this and you're trying to trim something, the easiest way to do it is just to, find out where, basically just click the slice button, and it's going to slice it where you have your playhead. So you can just click onto the screen and it's going to slice the play where you are the playhead. One little note, you do have to have the individual audio clip selected. So if for example, the purple one in the middle is selected and you click slice, it's going to slice the purple one, not the green one or the yellow one, whatever color that is. The other option is if you are zoomed out and you can see the beginning and end of the clip, you can also just use these little trimming buttons. So you can extend it if you want to add silence. We're not doing that. But you can extend it from the front or going the other way. But because I zoomed in, I couldn't see the beginning of it. I can't see the ending, so I'm going to just trim it this way. I'll put this right at the beginning since this is the first track. This is my intro music. So it's starting at, of course, 0, and it's going to, this is only about 19 seconds. So I'm going to extend this just a little bit longer so I have, a little bit more of an intro. So this is about 34, let's say 35 seconds. And you can solo this, so you can kind of see what it sounds like. And then, okay, so we're going to add a few transitions. Basically, we're going to add some volume controls so that your music flows right into your speaking, your actual podcast, your information part of it. But we're not there yet. I want to do this, select about 35 seconds. I'm going to do this for all of the individual clips. So again, this, I think I want to kind of focus maybe on the end. Not quite sure. In this case, I'm just going to drag it to the top. I don't need this track. I'm going to delete it. So let's listen to this and see where we are. So that's a cool. I'm not sure what part of the song I want to play. I used to do the kind of more at the beginning, so we'll see.
Let's try something else.
And you just have to keep keep track of time. So if this starts at 1:06, at about 1:36, 1:40, you kind of should be ending. So maybe I want to play kind of the last section. So this is 2:06. It's about one, kind of, do something like this. And I'm just going to leave this here. I'm going to fit my speaking kind of in the middle. So I'm just going to leave a little space. My next song is beginning of the end. Again, I'm going to delete the empty track, and I'm just going to click this. And for this, I know exactly, again, I kind of listened to this song a little bit. So I know that the last the last part of the song, so this is just about 5 minutes, so about 4:30, 4:25. This is what I want to play. Actually, no. So it's just about here. I can either trim this to this point, or again, I can click slice and just delete the entire section. If you do delete something, you don't have to worry, because you can always get it back, right? The entire song stays in the memory of the project. So if you delete something or do something by accident, you don't have to worry about importing the song all over again. Everything is kept in the memory. So again, this is 2:30, and this goes to about 3. So it's about 45 seconds. I'm going to cut the ending off. So some very interesting sounds. So 2:36 to about 3:05, and that's kind of the ending. I'm just going to fade this out again. The last song is Unsustainable, and you can kind of see I'm doing exactly the same thing. What part of the song? I have a very particular part of the song I want to use, which is somewhere in the middle here. So I'm going to zoom in so I can find it a little more exactly. There we go, right here. And I'm going to slice it. Actually, no, a little earlier. It's like over here. So this song. Energy continuously flows from it, concentrated to become dispersed, spread out, and wasted, useless. New energy cannot be created, and high-grade energy is being destroyed. An economy based on endless growth is unsustainable. So I think this section's a little longer, 4:30 to about, so it's about a minute, a little less than a minute. So I'm going to add some fades in the beginning. I'm going to add some fade outs, but I'm not sure what part of the song I want to fade in or fade out. So I'm going to leave this, just here, and I'm going to work on my little outro. So I'm going to, because this is such a long song, and if you zoom out all the way, you can't even see it. So I'm just going to. I'm actually just going to use the very beginning of this. So from 0 to, again, about 40 seconds. So you see, you can't slice over here because this audio is selected and the playhead is over here. So instead of going, using the scroll bar, going all the way to the left, to the right, trying to trim this, it's a little more difficult. So you can just click on this and click slice, and then delete this section, move this section up. So there's the two ways. You can, again, click and just left and right, click left and right, the drag the little bracket with the arrow, or you can select place the playhead and click slice. So that's how you do the individual clips for each song. Now you're finished with that step, right? You have all the songs selected. The next part is going to be to actually physically write your podcast. So the step 1 and 2, research and develop a script describing your topic and your musical examples, and use the outline to organize your thoughts. You must use correct punctuation and grammar so that when you're speaking, the correct grammar comes out. If you have a comma, make sure that you take a breath. If you have a period, make sure that you put a pause between the sentences. Again, just make sure that when you're writing this, you are doing your best, because that will be projected when you speak and when you record this. So mine is all complete. It's all ready, and I will show you how to make recordings.
Hi, I have changed and moved my settings. Welcome. Power of editing. Okay, so I have completed, I had my music that I'm talking about, that I've been editing. Then you can see it's about 30 seconds, except for I did kind of extend them actually a little bit so I can play around and have a little bit of music as a background music. So it does not have to be 30 seconds only, and it could be a little bit longer, and then you can certainly play around with background music. The most important part is going to be the transitions and kind of working on that volume level that we started last time with automation on the last project, and you'll see what we do with that. To make the recordings, as I mentioned, here is my complete outline. You can see it's, in a sense, very long, especially the beginning, because I have the introduction, where I have a little greeting. I have, I state my topic, I give you a background on my topic, and then I actually have my, the first paragraph where I talk about the first, the second music clip, but it's the first kind of example. So to make the recording, you can actually make it right directly into, in case of BandLab, you can make the recording straight into this. So you can click Add Track, and you're going to create a voice or a mic track, and this is automatically going to pick up your voice. So I am going to mute this. I don't need, this is my music. I don't need to hear the music for this. And all you have to do is press record, and it's going to start recording. The way I would recommend, highly, highly recommend, is that you record a couple sentences at a time. Sometimes you stumble, maybe you laugh, maybe something happens and you're just distracted, and maybe you stumble on a word. So it makes it much easier to go back and edit if you make shorter recordings. So let's try this. You'll see there'll be a countdown. Hello, welcome to My Favorite Things podcast with Mr. Reshetov. Today I will be talking about different but related genres of rock music, focusing on 3 bands that use electronics outside of traditional rock instruments. And you can kind of play around with this. You can certainly zoom in. And what I would recommend is to completely remove any silence at the beginning and at the end, so you know exactly how long the clip is. You don't have to play around with that. And I have the little timer here, so at about 30 seconds, I actually have automation already built in, because I've been playing with this. So I know around here is where the music starts to fade out, and that's where I'm going to move this, right? So here we go. Hello. Hello. Welcome to My Favorite Things podcast with Mr. There's a little bit of delay because I'm recording currently. As you play back, there's a little bit of delay, but that's kind of where you're going to. As the music starts to fade out, you bring your voice in, and that's essentially what you'll be doing. So let's continue recording. I'm going to mute this again, I'm going to start the recording. I'm going to move the playhead to where I want to start the recording. And there's going to be a little bit of a, 2 seconds they give you roughly to start recording. Rock bands became popular in the 1950s and generally feature 1 or 2 guitars, 1 bass guitar, a drum set, and a vocalist. However, non-traditional rock bands emerged, and in the early 1990s, independent musicians started to use computers instead of the recording studio to make their own music. Alternative rock is a term originally used to describe underground and independent rock of the 1980s and 90s, as opposed to the mainstream rock at the time, and became a successor to punk rock of the 60s and 70s. You can see I have maybe a little bit of a gap, but let's see how, what this sounds like. So you can certainly have a little bit of a gap, and that's essentially it. You don't have to get rid of that. If you want, you can have a little bit less of a gap. At this point, it's up to you, but you don't want to speak too fast. That's part of the inflection. You don't want to speak too quiet. You don't want to speak too loud. You don't want to be yelling at the listener. You also don't want to put them to sleep. You want to have an energetic tone while you speak, so that you are maintaining the interest of the listener. But at the same time, you don't want to speak too fast, because the person does have to process kind of what's being said. So take your pauses, take your breaks. Remember to breathe. Don't try to speed read through everything. It's not going to work very well. I'm going to jump around a little bit. I'm actually going to undo all of this, and you will see my completed project here. And if I use my automation, you can see how right around 28 seconds, 28, 30, 33 seconds, you can see that my voice comes in. But by this point, the volume is really out of the way, right? The music is out of the way, but it stays in the background for the next another minute or so almost. At this point, the music completely fades out. I start talking about the next music clip, and I slowly start to bring the music in as I talk about the band and the kind of sound that they have. And again, over here, as the music, as I finish my script, the music starts to fade in slowly. And I would very much advise you to listen to the actual recording. I won't be able to, again, play it. There's going to be a lot of delay, and it's not going to play smoothly, but you can see what's happening here. And same thing, go in here. You can see how the music fades out, fades in, and there really are kind of very few gaps. And I will zoom out, and you can tell that this, because it is a little longer, it's not going to fit the entire project, but almost the entire thing is right here. So that is all. And again, the most important part is making the writing it, making the recordings. What I would recommend is that you as you write a paragraph, you can record it and import it straight away, and you work on different sections at a time. And that is all.